Thanks for staying with us. Now, in just a few days or so, the October to December short rainy season will begin. And unlike previous years, this year's season is projected to come with heavy rains. The World Meteorological Department has warned of El Nino this year in many parts of the world. And here in the country, the Kenya Meteorological Department says brace for heavier rain than you have never seen before. This will mean massive flooding with potential loss of property and/or lives and landslides in prone areas. Well, is the country ready for these impacts? And have there been lessons learned from the 1997 El Nino rains? Tonight, NTV begins a special coverage on the impending rains and what the country is doing to prepare. Zainab Wandati starts us off.
The scars of 1997 are still fresh in the minds of many Kenyans. It was the heaviest rain they'd ever seen, and the impacts were brutal.
Wakati wa El Nino ilikuwa mkubwa na ilikuwa na boma. Sasa tuliona ardhi ikiporomoka kwa mchana. Naelekea Sagana. Nilikuwa tu mzima. Hiyo siku abio mimi niliona na macho yangu. Hiyo wakati miti ilienda ilikuwa mkubwa, madizi, manyumba iliporomoka, hata kaburi ilikuwa karibu kupelekwa kwa mto. 1997 nilikuwa mzima na nilikuwa na watoto. Mali yetu yote ilienda Sagana na tukaona serikali yapanda fanya mambo yote kwa sisi.
The rains lasted several months to February of 1998, and when they were done, the losses and damage were massive. The government estimates the value of the losses to at least 1 trillion shillings, with the agriculture and infrastructure sectors taking the biggest hit. In the end, more than 1.5 million people were impacted, and the death toll put at 2,000. To date, there are parts of central Kenya that are believed to have lost the ability to grow some crops, such as nduma, due to the massive soil erosion that stripped off the topsoils.
Mteremko ulianza 1961, ndio ya kwanza ilikuwa, ikateremsha miti mzima, ikateremsha hata mawe, na sasa ikarudia after something to do with 40 years, wakati wa mrudio, tena ikaja, ikabeba mawe, ikabeba mshanga, ikabeba chochote kilichokuwa tumepanda. Tuliamkia tu, tukakuta mshanga unaenda, na ilikuwa inaenda na maji, ikateremshwa mpaka mto Tana. Sasa
swala nyeti ni hili. Sisi kama wakazi wa eneo hili, wakazi wengi waliathirika sana, wakapoteza makao, wakapoteza chakula, na sasa tunaomba serikali kwa moyo mkujufu ijaribu angalau huyu mtu ameathirika asiathirike tena na tuna.
And now 26 years later, the country is staring at yet another El Nino. But what really is an El Nino?
Basically, what El Nino means is a phenomena that is usually characterized by warmer than average sea surface temperatures over the central and eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean and cooler than average sea surface temperatures over the western equatorial Pacific Ocean. El Nino usually leads to enhanced rainfall of our region during the October to December short rain season. And besides the El Nino, the above average rainfall we are expecting this year will also be driven by the Indian Ocean dipole.
The Indian Ocean dipole, in simple terms, refers to changes in sea surface temperature in the Indian Ocean adjacent to the East African coast and south of Indonesia. These changes are often what lead to heavy rains in the region, much like what happened when the Rift Valley lakes rose.
In 1997, the Oceanic Nino Index, which is the index that is used to measure the strength of El Nino, was very high, actually at around 2.4 degrees Celsius. And if you compare that with what we are expecting currently, models are predicting a moderate to strong El Nino, and the highest value that the models have been able to predict so far is approximately 2.0. So what we are basically saying is we may not exactly experience what we experienced in 1997, but we are likely to experience close to what we experienced in 1997.
El Nino episodes are indicated by sea surface temperature rises of more than 0.5 degrees Celsius for at least 5 consecutive seasons of 3 months each. And with the forecast indicating a strong El Nino, Kenyans are on edge.
Hii mwaka naona mvua itakuja. Na zaidi itakuja, Inaona hata manyumba itaenda, hata meleo, hata hii sugar cane itaenda. Sijui vile tutafanya. Manyumba iko karibu na area ile promoka. Sasa mvua iko karibu na tuko na ng'ombe na watoto, tunashindwa utaenda wapi? Sasa tunafikiria mvua ikinyesha tunaweza enda kwa nini tukae.
Sasa hata tukiambiwa tutoke hapa hatujui tuende wapi. Kwa ajili hapa diko tu tumeonyeshwa na wazazi na wametuasha hapa wamekufa.
Mvua ya 1997 ilipokuja ilibomoa mandizi, ikabomoa miti, hata nyumba ilibomoa. Kaburi ilikuwa karibu kuenda na sasa tunashindwa. El Nino inatarajiwa kukuja, tutaenda wapi? Tutahamia wapi?
The government, however, has maintained that it is adequately prepared for the heavy rains based on lessons picked up in 1997. Already, various government agencies and counties have been engaging in cleanup exercises intended to unclog drainage systems.
So far, we have a total, both us, WRA and the other partner, we have almost over around 35 kilometers over and over 10,000 if you add both. Trees were also planted.
We have collected close to 98 tons of waste, which the county government of Nairobi has assisted us to carry them to the required size.
But are cleanups really enough? The government says while cleanups look like a small thing, pollution of waterways contribute greatly to flooding when the rains come.
We will be working under one government approach to ensure that we look at the root cause of the pollution of Nairobi River.
With the rains expected to hit in the coming days, Kenyans have been urged to move away from flood-prone areas and also away from areas prone to landslides in order to reduce the impact on human lives. But despite the projected impact, the rains will bring relief to the Horn of Africa region, which has suffered 5 consecutive failed rain seasons and the worst drought in 40 years. And as the world braces to take the hit, researchers are warning that if 2023 El Nino is as strong as projected, then the global economy is likely to suffer $4.3 trillion in loss and damage over the next 5 years. But one thing scientists say they know for sure is that El Nino worsens the impacts of climate change.
The warmest year on record so far was 2016, and that particular year was associated with a combination of a very strong El Nino event at that time, on top of the long-term warming of the climate system.
Globally, the El Nino really means that we have a continuation of the global heat that we've seen in the global oceans in particular, and the global oceans have been at record temperatures since about April.
Since 1997, Kenya has had 2 other El Ninos, in 2006 as well as in 2015. But the 1997-1998 rains remain the most talked about because it was the worst El Nino ever experienced. Zainab Wandati, NTV.